Welcome to another video, guys, and we are doing something a little dangerous. So as you guys saw in the beginning of this video, please heed the warning, heed that warning. This is not something that is relatively safe. Please do not do this on your own if you have no idea what you're doing. Please just, be safe. And if you decide to do this on your own, this is at your own risk. So just, yeah, let's get to it. All right, so we're gonna be doing a fuel pump swap. So what we've learned these past couple weeks, or not even weeks, I'd say about a year or so, that the LT models and LS models that are not 1LE variants have a very low PSI fuel pump. Now they're great if you're running 91. No worries on that end. The only time we're gonna worry is that if you're gonna go on E85. So if you want to go on E85, you're looking to either supercharge the car, or do anything of that variance, turbo in some cases, you're gonna need more fueling. These fuel pumps can't handle what the ECU is asking for. You need about 33% more fuel throughout the entire band, and on the top end, your fuel pump isn't gonna be able to keep up. That's what I ran into. Now, that might just be my issue that the pump just kind of fried out, and that's the problem, but it just seems like that's just something that a lot of people, or at least something that you should probably consider. If it doesn't go out now, it could go out later. So just keep in mind, again, I'm going to reiterate this a lot in this video. Be very, very careful. Do the proper precautions to not cause any sparks. You're dealing with gasoline, or in my case, it's ethanol. All right, so I'm gonna say it a lot, so that it might get annoying. So in this case, we're gonna put the ZL1 fuel pump in this, and we got it right here. And I gotta thank my my wonderful shop that always helps me out. JBA Speed Shop, they're the ones who were able to order it for me. I did pay for this, or in this case, I'm going to pay for it this Friday. But I have the pump right here. You're not gonna be able to see it very well, so let me get this out. All right, so here we go. So here's the pump, and I will get the part number and everything. That should be it right on top. But I'll get all part numbers and stuff and put that into the link in the description so you guys can order it. We ordered this through, I believe, ATEC, which is Summit. Yeah, so it came with the fuel leveler and the filter and everything. You can buy them like this, but you can also buy it without the your fuel sending unit. Your fuel level sending unit. So if you decide to do that, you will have to remove your old one and put it on the new pump. All right, so I will have to say, a lot of this information that I have, I did not, almost died. I did not get myself. I'm not doing this on a whim. I did a lot of research. I've watched a lot of YouTube videos, but also I do have access to ALLDATA, which is essentially a industry standard system to show you how to do this replacement. I've read that thing back and forth and tried to see where things are at and do my best to do my homework. I suggest you do the same thing so that way you're not cutting too big, too small, or on the wrong side. It is on the passenger side on the rear seat, and I'll show you guys where it's located under. This should be for all models. I don't think they swap sides, but I can only say that this was for the 2016 to the 2018 models. It might be the other ones as well, because I don't see why they would change anything, but I don't want to say it's up to the 2022 models, and it's not. So, but anyway, so I got the fuel pump here, and we've got different connections here. So we've got one right here on top, right here where the electrical snaps in, another one here, one right down here, one right there, and one right there. So what's great is that I essentially pull my old one out, disconnect these things. Now you disconnect the top first, disconnect the locking ring, and you're gonna have to slowly disconnect the bottom one. So this one here, and then this one, while you're trying to pull this out. So this essentially is gonna drop in like this and then go in like that, and then it'll seat down. There is a specific way this is supposed to aim, and I'm not sure exactly, but I believe that tab right here should fit somewhere so it properly sits in the tank. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to actually empty everything out of my back seat. I'm going to take the folding seat, the bottom of the seat off, and then I'm going to essentially disconnect my negative battery on here, because I want to not run the risk of a spark happening. You know, as long as the negative is off, it'll be fine. So yeah, if you need to go somewhere, you're out of luck. So you might be able to push the car out of the way. Yeah, the way we're doing it is dangerous, you know, but it's one of two ways. It's an easier way that makes things more accessible, but it's super dangerous. Or there's the long way, but it's not as dangerous as if you were to, you know, do it, but it's a lot more work. You gotta drop the exhaust, you gotta drop the drive shaft, and then you can start getting into everything to, you know, pulling down the fuel tank. You gotta get the straps, and then you gotta disconnect the fuel lines, the your inlet to pump gas in. So there's a lot more that goes into it, and I'm only doing this because I'm on a bit of a deadline on some things, and you know, just trying to make it a little bit easier. But I'll go step by step. I'll do my best to get as much footage and give you ideas and what I got and what I used, what worked and what didn't. This is gonna be a long video, and I'm gonna do my best to try and make it, you know, as more informative than it is talking. But again, it's very dangerous, so just be aware of that. So I'm gonna empty out the back, and I'm gonna just do some taping up of some plastic to kind of get it around the car, because we're gonna have to do some grinding. So we can at least try and cover most of the car. So if there's any pieces that fly somewhere, it'll land on the plastic, and we can, you know, at least get the plastic kind of wrapped up and minimize the dust and minimize the mess that we'll make. So let's get to it. I cleared everything back here. You know, none of this I wouldn't really worry too much about. I'm gonna try and cover this in plastic anyway. But so to get this out, it's actually pretty easy. It takes some finagling. Mine's a little bit hard to get out. Don't mind the subwoofer in the back. But there are, these are actually kind of clipped in. So I believe you just gotta push to one side, and then you kind of gotta like twist it. So you push and then like twist up, because it's spring loaded. So you just gotta kind of push those on the side. There's some videos out there that kind of probably explain this a lot better than I will, and you can't really see it just because of the lighting. Actually, let me see here. There we go. So I don't know if you guys can see that, but it's spring loaded, and you just gotta push against it. This side actually should probably come out pretty easy, since it's already pushed against it and it's not sitting on the other side. And the other side is the same. So you guys can see that. There you go. So yeah, you're gonna just push against it, and then it should lift up. So we took this side out, and actually it was pretty easy. So I just lifted it up here, and it kind of snapped. Same on that side. But that side just kind of popped out, and then I just squeezed it and lifted and it came out. Now this one, supposedly it's easier. I don't know. We're gonna find out. But you're supposed to just lift up from here. Supposedly, you're supposed to just lift up from here, and then it's supposed to, because there's only fasteners that are holding it down. I guess not, we might need to use a... Okay, we figured it out. So, we're gonna need a screwdriver. And then there is a fastener in here, and that thing is in there tight. Like, very, very tight. So, what I did is I kind of found where it was at. I turned it over, and I just used the leverage to pop it out. You're gonna need to use a lot of force to get this thing out. It's gonna scare you just a little bit, but here, I'll show you on the other side. Kind of the same idea. So it's kind of in the center, right here. And you're just gonna...
Without your hand getting in the way.
You're gonna have to kind of find where the hook is, because you want to essentially, there we go. And then you're just gonna pop it up. I dented it a little bit, but what we're about to do is gonna be worse than those little dents. So I'm sure there's a way easier way of doing that, but I didn't do that, so I'm using what I got. So you just gotta get the seat belts from out of under here. And then voila! Backseat delete. Little update. This is definitely not what it looks like on the things that I was looking at. So this is going to be a little more difficult than I anticipated, but I'm willing to do the things that we need to make it work. So my understanding is that it is right under here. And like I can feel a fuel line running down here. So because it's not going to be on the other side, it's not going to be here. As everything, I was just looking at diagrams to see where it was located. It's right next to the fuel filler hose, and that makes sense. You would want this side of the saddle to fill up first before the other side did. So, and because if only there was, let's say you only put enough gas for this saddle to fill up, well, that's where your pump is. If it was on the other side, then you're not getting fuel over there, and it's just gonna cause issues. So the one thing I'm gonna try and do my best on is not to really hurt the integrity of the seating, because this is very, very malleable. Like, it is very thin, like very, very thin. So my idea is I'm going to just cut right here, right across, down here, and then along this seam, and then try and like kind of get in between this little structural part right here. Because once the seat goes back on, it'll still have some structure on the outside parts, but this, when someone sits in this seat, it's going to push against that door. And you know, no one really sits back here in the back seat anyway, so I'm not going to see it as a big issue. And I'll have some hinges as well to kind of cover it or whatever. But it's still something that I need to consider, because, you know, someone still might sit back here. I still think, you know, most of the seat will be resting on here anyway, so there won't be too much pressure on here, but it's always good to kind of keep that in mind. So I did take these little guys out, and I'm gonna just silicone these back once I'm all done, so I can get these all nice and sealed up. Because I was trying to see if I could see the pump, but I can't. It's gonna be located right in this area. Even if it's a little bit more tucked in, it'll be okay, because the way this is kind of angled, I'll be able to kind of pull everything out this way. If I need to go further up, then, you know, so be it, but I highly doubt it's sitting right here. I feel like it's, you know, I feel like it's going to be in this area right here. So we should be able to do some wiggling and make things, you know, fit as need be. So I did get a pen, and I'm going to make my marks just so that way I know where I'm cutting, and I'm going to try and make it as straight as possible, so that way we can do that. But what I'm first going to do is I'm going to try and cover all this stuff up with some plastic, and I should disconnect the negative battery on here, so that way we don't run into any sparks, especially because I have my sub back here. It's just gonna make it you know, a little more safe. So yeah, I'm gonna put some plastic. I'm gonna mark this out. I did a little vacuuming to try and get as much dust away from here, and I'm gonna drill a couple small holes on the corners where I want it to stop, so when I get to that corner and I cut in, it should keep me from going further and causing any mars or anything like that, and should hopefully make a, if I'm steady enough, a nice square hole. I did my best to just kind of cover up the seat, and just that way it'll catch, you know, as much of the this, you know, any shards and all that stuff. I do have a vacuum, you know, close by, so I'll try and vacuum what I can, but it's really just to kind of catch things, keep them from flying all over the place and having metal shards all over the car. But yeah, we're gonna get started right now. I'm just gonna go get a quick bite, and then yeah, we shall be ready. So we're about to start making the residual cuts around the square, so we can get to the fuel pump. Again, be very careful, everybody. Take your time. The idea is this: no sparks, no heat. And be very careful to get into when you're cutting that that piece out. Here's the thing: it is very close to any fuel lines, and it's close to the actual pump itself. Last thing you want to do is, if you're causing sparks, you nick a fuel line and you cause a fire. So have a fire extinguisher ready. I have one not too far away. I'm gonna go and grab it, and, you know, probably put it in the car so it's with me. You know, I have water over here in the case I need to you know, do an emergency thing. I have my door open to get more ventilation. I have my trunk open to make sure air is flowing, windows are down, car's been dissipated as far as charge goes. I'm going to be wearing rubber gloves, and the biggest thing is I'm just going to go in small steps, kind of make my lines, and then let it cool off for a second, and then go again. The idea is to take your time, you know, and you don't want to nick anything. That's the biggest thing. I may be blowing it out of proportion, no pun intended, but this is your life that you're messing with, that you could potentially, you know, hurt yourself, or you can cause a catastrophic fire. That's what I don't want to do, because it's not just me that's in danger. I'm endangering my fiance, endangering my my roommate John, and anybody else that could potentially be hurt. So be smart and do things right. One thing I recommend you guys get, obviously some glasses, safety glasses, maybe a respirator. You don't want to get any of those you know, those small particles in your lungs. You know, I am using a Dremel for this. I could not get a, I didn't want to go too big on the cut, and try and make it thin as possible. You know, cut around the door, so it'd be easy to fill in with the silicone. And I got this. I mean, I've had this for a while, but I got these at Home Depot. They were like 15 bucks. It was expensive, but I got like 16 of them, because I have no idea how long these are gonna last. A face shield is highly recommended. I don't have one. I totally forgot to grab one, but I would recommend that. So these, you know, it's not as dangerous when these things break. Being one, they're so small, so they may fracture in smaller pieces, which is still not good. Trust me, it's still not good. But, you know, I'm gonna try and keep my distance, keep it like this the entire time, so if it does break, it'll hopefully doesn't rip anything in the car. But I'd rather it rip that and repair that than, you know, launch into my head or something. Again, safety glasses, respirator, and yeah, go slow, guys. Let's do it. So some good news, and there's always bad news that comes with things like this. So good news is I found the fuel pump. It is on the side that I anticipated, but I cut a little too far. So where I thought it was gonna be right here is actually right here. So I don't know if you can see that, but we kind of have the fuel pump coming around in this general area right here. So that makes it a little tough. You know, like I mentioned earlier, I have not seen anybody do this before. The video I did see was a 5th gen. I should have looked into that and looked a little more closely, but at the same time, I feel like it still would have been the same thing and kind of a guessing game. Good thing is that I didn't do a full cut. I was able to lift it, take a look. I didn't cut that back end back there, so that's, you know, that's good. And the good thing too is that because I drilled the corners, that circle is actually going to be helpful as far as keeping the structure, as opposed to kind of keeping that cut, because because it's circled with just overall, you know, movement and stuff, it's not going to crack. It'll just stop where it's at. I'll need to kind of polish it out and, you know, kind of add a little bit of you know, file it down a little bit so it's not set, because you know, it's a circle rotary, so you're gonna not go, you know, you're gonna go a little deeper than you need to. But that being said, though, you know, you live, you learn, and we move forward. So now what we got to do is we got to pull this back a little bit. From the looks of it, it actually kind of comes down this way and under here. So here's the problem, is that we've got this piece here, this where it meets, and that's kind of a pretty structural part. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna actually follow up to here, and I'm gonna cut down that way and around. From what it looks like, it should kind of tuck under a little bit, but it should be enough to be able to kind of wiggle it out. So when we pop it out, it should be able to shift out a little bit, because it is higher on this side than it would be here. But again, it's trial and error, you know, and you kind of just got to give it a shot and see what happens. I just got to try and move some of these cables back, maybe put a padding, because I do have to get pretty close to this, and that is your main power cable, and you don't want to cut that. So, yeah, it's a learning experience, but the thing too is that the edge is right here anyway. So, like I said, I don't think the fuel pump is gonna meet all the way to this corner here. If we just cut here and cut fine on this end, trying to keep the structurability of this here, I'm gonna try and just follow up to here, follow this curve right here, so I keep this structurability. So when we put the seat back and you set this down, it's got a nice anchor point, and it's not going to cave in over time. But no one, like I said, no one sits back here, so I think we'll be fine. So yeah, we're gonna cut here. I might just cut straight across right here. Actually, it kind of curves in here, so I'll come here, curve here, and either follow this line on this outside or jump across and go over. But I think we might be okay just going here and then coming around. So more cutting. Well, we got the piece out, and there's a fuel pump. That I will figure out how to fix that at some point, and how to get that back in at some point as well. But the important thing is we found the fuel pump, so yeah. What I did is I just kind of grabbed the brush. I kind of brushed what I could off. I have a portable vacuum, so I try to just vacuum up as much of the dirt as I possibly could. Obviously, if you're doing it this way, you're gonna get dirt inside of there. So just do your absolute best to clean it up. I have a wet rag right now that I'm gonna put in. I'm gonna just grab some gloves and then just try and clean up as much as I can with the wet rag, and use my fingers to try and get in as, you know, all around, and try and clean the hoses up and all that good stuff. So we're gonna have to unplug this right here, and then there's a clip right here, and we'll be able to unplug that. And then this entire thing is the locking ring. So yeah, once we're able to take this off, then we can get the fuel pump out, and then we can swap them out. So I'm gonna clean this up, and then I'm gonna pull these out, and I'll try and film and pull them at the same time, but these are not that easy, so I'll do my best. All right, so we got all the things out. So we got that one out, we got that one out, and we got the clip out. One thing to notice though, this one right here is going to have gas in it. So just be mindful of that. There will be gas in this line. So just have a rag or something that you can cover it with to catch it. And obviously be careful, you know, when moving the cables and stuff along these metal shards. I'm actually gonna put some tape around that just to keep them from getting scratched or, you know, cut open. But at this point, it's now time to just take off the lock ring, and then we can pull the pump out. I'm hoping it's gonna be easier, and you know, it's gonna be easy when, and yeah, let's hope. All right, guys. So ran into some issues, but of course, right? But turns out the pumps are the same size, and for the most part are the same, but a couple differences, and I kind of took apart my other one just to see what was going on. But so this is my old one, this is the new one. Well, as you can see, this one isn't on here, but this piece here is the same size as this. So from my understanding is that I think this pump brings it from the other side with this, and that's it. But this uses its own internal pump here, and it also brings it from the other side here, so it always has a constant flow of fuel. The only other thing that I noticed as well is that this line right here is solid. There's no little T in it. This one does. This is not a the right thing to do. I just need the car to start working, and I figured I would get it fixed later. Probably buy a cap or something to be able to put on the end of this. So as of right now, I'm just trying to get this to work. I think overall the car should still turn on. It shouldn't have an issue. If I do get a check engine light, it's probably because it's not getting signal from one thing, but I'm looking at some of these cables here, and I feel like they're just grounds. So things are in different places than from what this one is. So I think it'll be okay. And I think the ground that this one had, because this line here was to here, it I feel like it might be in the actual housing, but I didn't want to take this apart just because that one was already coming apart. So yeah, I'm gonna drop it in and get it all together. I did drop a clip in there, so I'm gonna have to go fishing in E85 to get it out, so that's gonna be fun. But again, be very careful, you know, putting things back in, you know, go at a you know, go as slow as you can and make sure nothing gets nicked and everything just goes in smoothly. Again, do not do this. I don't know if this is gonna hold, although that's in there pretty tight, and I don't know what pressure is gonna be in here. I don't know if it's the fuel circulating through the motor to cool it down. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. But again, this is just a temporary fix until I can get a cap for this, or you know, be able to cut these lines and then put just a connector there to just have them go into one straight line. I didn't want to cut that other one in the case I had to put my fuel pump back in and you know, figure something else out to make this work. So it's a learning experience for me. Yeah, we'll get this in the car and see what happens. Oh, one other thing, you're gonna get a lot of fuel everywhere. It's inevitable. Sorry. Either run the tank as low as you can and then do this, or you know, try and pump some of it out if you can. But you're gonna get fuel absolutely everywhere. So my idea is to once I put the fuel pump back in there, I'm going to essentially wash the car down and get a rag and just try and clean up as much as I can. Get maybe some soapy water and just kind of spray to try and dilute it, kind of like what I did with the fuel pump, the high pressure fuel pump, and then scrub the inside. My car's gonna smell like E85 for like the next century, but I'm hoping this works. So let's get this back in and do some cleanup and wish for the best. I got the fuel pump in. Wow, what a pain in the ass that really is. I mean, realistically speaking, if you don't have a lift, you don't have the tools to be able to take the drive shaft off and all that stuff, it's just so much harder when it's still sitting in the car. That being said, if you're very crafty, needle nose pliers were the savior today. I mean, it's just as hard. I mean, to be quite honest. No, here's the thing though. If what I did works, and if that screw just happens to keep pressure, or decides to stay in there and never comes out for the life of the car, which I highly doubt, we're probably gonna have to drop the tank at some point, and you know, or you know, we gotta do some stuff on the drivetrain and we gotta take the tank out for whatever reason. Might as well just go back in there and cap it. If I don't have to get back in there, I'm gonna do my absolute best to not have to. Because it's crazy hard. That being said, harness, everything clicked in perfect. Like I mentioned, a couple things needed to move around, you know, from what our stock one looks like to what the ZL1 fuel pump looks like. So there is some things you'll need to do. As far as the hoses, you'll have to kind of finagle one of them to kind of that one that was on top of the pump. It kind of swivels. You'll have to swivel it a bit. And what I did is I got some needle nose pliers, and I essentially twisted it enough to where it just clip in, and it clipped itself in, and then it just went straight. If I need to remove the pump, I will figure that out when I get there, because it is gonna be almost impossible to get out. I'm sure there's a way to do it, but I will figure that out when I get there. So right now, as you can see, it's all in. I did tighten up the ring lock, and you know, the little green line is matched up with the green line as best as possible. Everything's snapped in, everything is nice and secured as well. I'm gonna get some water right now and some soap, and I'm just going to essentially just wipe everything down that's in here. The car is gonna smell like ethanol for months. I mean, it's gonna get everywhere, and that's what I'm trying to tell you is piece of advice: drive the car until it's like either you run out of gas or there's the check engine light comes on. You're better off doing that. Obviously have some fuel, so once you actually put the new tank in there, or the new pump in there, you can add some fuel, so then that way it's not running on low fuel. Get it as low as you possibly can. My hands are beat up, my chest hurts. There's really no good way to get in there unless you take the seats out, and if you're able to do that, then go for it. I was not able to do that. So what I'm gonna do is I'm essentially gonna push the car outside of the garage. It's in an open space. After, you know, I kind of wipe everything down, throw some water on there. Once I get back out there as well, it is raining outside, so that's kind of working in my favor. I'm going to add some more water and kind of just make sure that it doesn't, you know, nothing electrical around it is going to be exposed to it. And then I'll try and turn it on, and it's going to take a while because the fuel pump needs to get some of that fuel and needs to get everything in there, but there's going to be air in the line because you know, we disconnected everything and some of the fuel didn't go through. So yeah, now that the pump is back inside the tank, I feel a little bit easier right now. I'm a little lightheaded. Definitely get ventilation in here. I do have the garage cracked open, but a little bit more may help. So yeah, this is gonna be super long, guys. And again, like I keep mentioning, be very careful. This is gasoline you're messing with. Or, you know, it's gasoline, it's alcohol, it's flammable. This can explode. So just be very careful. So I'm gonna clean all this stuff up. It's a mess in there. And then we'll push the car out and hope for the best. All right, guys, that's it. So what I did before I went on a quick test drive, I just keyed the car, and so I held the start button, did not turn it on until, you know, the gauges popped up, and then I could hear the fuel pump priming itself. So, which that thing primed up insanely fast. So that's good news. So I, you know, went outside, turned it on. I couldn't really push it outside because I didn't want to turn the car on outside because it's like midnight right now. But turned on with no issues for the most part. Took it outside. I didn't really push it very hard. I just wanted to make sure that I could like kind of get up on the revs a little bit. And I was able to get to, I think, 5.5, and I didn't feel anything bad or, you know, wrong with the car. I mean, tomorrow it'll give me a little more of an idea if the car has issues or if it needs to be retuned, or if the pump is, if there's something else mechanical with the car. Regardless, we put a new pump in it. We should be good for more power later down the line, but that should fix our issues. So only way to know is to actually push the car tomorrow, and get it up to its high, you know, get it to its rev limiter and see if the car decides to throw codes. It shouldn't, because there's plenty of fuel that's going into it. I did get a little bit of dirt inside of the tank. I mean, it's very hard to not do that unless you pull the tank out and you literally wash it. So I did my best. I mean, there's a filter on the stuff, so you know that'll be able to keep that from getting into the tank, into the fuel. But you know, it can only do so much. Actually, I'm gonna roll down the windows to let as much of the gas smell get out of there. I did try and spray it down as much as I could. Right now, when I drove, I could hear everything, like everything. So what I'm going to try and do is find some sort of old rag or some sort of old blanket or something that I can just like stuff in there and kind of like zip tie or in there, and then I'm going to put the seats back until I can get the actual stuff reseated and stuff like that. So actually I might just let the RTV silicone just sit overnight, and then I'll put the bottom part tomorrow, just because it might be, you know, just give it some time to kind of get a little sticky. And then I'll put, I don't know, some saran wrap or something like that on top of it, so then when I put the seat over it, it doesn't get onto the seat and gets that gross. But this isn't the end. I'm going to do some more video tomorrow, just doing a poll and seeing what happens, and then tomorrow I'll end it. So yeah, so the car should not be hot, so let's hope that everything works okay. And yeah, I'm gonna smell like gas until tomorrow morning, but we'll see you guys in the morning. All right guys, so I'm not actually going to do a car poll, only because I kind of already told you guys what the check engine light codes I was getting. Now we need to dig into that, and I have no idea when my tuner is going to be available to be able to dial the car in and see why it's throwing the code, and you know, see what's going on. So most likely what he's going to do is he's going to turn that cell off and just make sure that, you know, the car's running fine and that we're not running into fueling issues, which I don't think we should. But I'm also gonna just make a completely separate video as far as dialing the car in, because it may take some time, so I'm not sure when that'll actually happen. But I also, you know, it will be a separate video just because car will be running differently. We're gonna do some dyno polls on the tune now versus when we actually retune it, and then do another poll. And the video was already really long, so I'd rather make this as short as possible for you guys. But I mean, I've been driving the car since I did the swap out for a couple of weeks now, and it's been driving perfectly fine. No issues, no weird breakups or any of that sort. Yeah, so we'll just see what ends up happening, and you know, hopefully that it's, you know, the car is running a lot better. So so once we're able to do those changes, I'll keep you guys updated, so then you can see the progression of what the real changes were. You know, I don't think we're gonna gain a lot of power. We might just get a little bit, just to, you know, see what's gonna happen. Or, you know, we should gain a little, I should say. You know, we should probably get maybe a couple more horsepower overall. But the numbers that we're gonna get at the dyno at the shop versus if I were to go back with doing the MCE Racing, their dyno, you know, I'm gonna go back and do the dyno pull with them. I just want the car to be dialed in first. Now that I don't think anything bad will happen. It's just a different mod now, and it should run better. So, but thank you guys again for watching. I know this video was insanely long. Thank you for sticking around. I hope this is insanely helpful. Please let me know if you need some help or locations, or, you know, some more, you know, better shots of where, you know, the fuel pump is. I think I did a good job of locating it. Yeah, like I iterated a lot of times, just be very careful and you know, be safe. And, you know, thank you guys for watching and subscribing. More videos to come. Right now I'm gonna try and do some more road course and some more autocross stuff, but it's gonna be very far few and in between, just because the Auto Club Speedway is no longer open. So again, thank you guys so much for watching. Like, subscribe, share this with everybody. You know, I haven't seen a video like this, so I hope this is very helpful. And you know, this should go between the LTs through the ZL1. So I hope this has helped you guys all. So yeah, again, thank you all, and we'll see you on the next one.